I am Clara Miles, 32 years old, living in the quiet town of Northwood, Illinois. I have always been a devoted employee, starting as a part-time teller at the local bank, a position that quickly escalated into a whirlwind of responsibilities. My life revolved around that bank, juggling tasks from handling business transactions to managing branch records. I was not just a mere teller. I transformed into a pillar of the bank, an indispensable part of its daily operations. I took pride in my work, eager to learn everything I could. I became the go-to person to fix minor issues with the ATM and even helped with property settlements and loan drawdowns whenever someone was missing or ill. I was a multitasker, a problem solver, and I flourished in this environment. As I dove deeper into my work, I meticulously organized everything. I compiled notes filled with shortcuts, hacks, and guides that made day-to-day operations run smoothly. I saved all of it on my personal file on the bank's hard drive and kept a printed version in a folder I affectionately called my work Bible. You could say I was passionate about my career, and with a young family relying on me, climbing the corporate ladder became a fierce priority. I began applying for various full-time positions that aligned with my skills. Each time I faced disappointment, the interviews would go well, and I would receive nearly identical feedback. My heart sank every time when someone similar to me, someone I had once trained, would get promoted over me. After 12 months of watching others rise ahead of me, I decided to put everything on the line and applied for a combined position at another branch. I felt confident. I had done relief work there and knew I was the best fit. But a few days later, I received a phone call that would change everything. It was the branch manager, calling from her personal number, her voice hesitant yet sincere. She explained that despite my qualifications, I was simply too valuable where I was. I was saving the branch thousands of dollars, and the state manager had deemed it more critical for me to stay in my current role than to be promoted. At that moment, I felt a dark pit of frustration growing within me. I thanked her for her honesty, but inside, I vowed to unleash my revenge. That very afternoon, I came home with a fire in my heart. I started applying for jobs at other banks, positioning my skills and experiences prominently. Just 2 days later, I had an interview scheduled for Friday. I cleverly orchestrated my lunch break to coincide with it, telling my colleagues I had an appointment, an innocent white lie. The anticipation built as I sat at my desk, coolly awaiting the outcome. A few hours later, my phone buzzed with the news I had been hoping for. I secured the position. To my delight, both my manager and assistant manager were absent that day, so I whispered the good news to a few of my coworkers, knowing it would quickly spread. That Monday, I arrived before opening hours, a smile dancing on my lips as I walked through the entrance. My manager greeted me with an expectant look, asking if I had something to share. I handed him my resignation letter, and I could see the color drain from his face as he read it. "We need more notice than this," he protested frailly. I had already checked with the union, and my heart sang as I declared, "No, you do not," before walking away to get ready for my shift, all with a sly grin etched on my face. In the coming weeks, I was bombarded with requests from my manager asking me to train others in areas where I had been excelling. I did so with a lack of enthusiasm, deliberately ensuring I provided minimal guidance. I could have helped them thrive, but instead, I chose to let them flounder because this was my last act of defiance. I told my manager I would upload my work Bible to the branch's common folder before my last day, further stringing him along. As the final day arrived, I looked forward to sitting calmly at the inquiries counter. Unfortunately, due to protocol, I was pulled to handle a busy teller's counter instead. Adding insult to injury, they wanted a trainee to use my login to operate the cash while I supervised. I firmly stood my ground and refused to let anyone encroach on my time to leave. My manager simmered with irritation, but I simply shrugged him off, my focus unwavering. The clock ticked closer to the end of the day, and I meticulously balanced my cash to the last cent before logging out of the system. After a quick meeting of pleasantries, I gathered my belongings, including my treasured folder. My heart raced as I noticed a frenzy brewing among the tellers. They were frantically trying to resolve a massive discrepancy, and whispers filled the room about tens of thousands of dollars missing. I nonchalantly shared my news that I no longer worked there as I walked out the door, feeling the weight of my revenge lift from my shoulders. But I did one last thing before I left. I had programmed a goodbye email to be sent out at 6 o'clock that evening. In that message, I thanked my colleagues for the memories and attached a document titled Shortcuts. I let the contents speak for themselves as the document was blank except for my brief note indicating the loyalty shown to me by the bank. In the weeks that followed, I heard waves of calamity flooding the branch due to my subtle sabotage. The absence of my knowledge and guidance reverberated throughout, resulting in mistake after mistake. I sat back, laughter bubbling up inside me as I reveled in the chaos I had left in my wake. I had fought back against the stifling lack of recognition. In the end, I didn't just walk away. I made sure they understood the price of overlooking talent. The bank's loyalty was returned in equal measure, and I did not regret a single moment of what I had orchestrated. I learned that sometimes, when pushed into the corner, the best response is, in fact, a calculated act of revenge.